We are live on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble. Where else? Oh, Instagram. I got to click Instagram because it doesn't do it automatically. Now we're live there as well. We'll soon be live on Rockfin. You might notice some background music, or if it's too loud, some front-ground music. This is a piece that was written by a friend of the show who's been a guest a number of times, Justin Ridgway. It's got a cool, laid-back vibe to it. And I thought I'd play it today to kick things off. But now, I will be fading it out. Got a lot of new features on StreamYard to play with, which they should, since they quadrupled the price to use their service. Nevertheless, we are now live on all of the places, and hope everybody's doing well on this Thursday morning. On the East Coast, middle of the night. West Coast, you just cracked Thursday. You just left hump day Wednesday, and you're just now getting to Thursday, and you're a late night person partying. So join us, jump in the chats. Got a couple things to talk about this morning. This is a propaganda report, by the way. I'm Brad Binkley. For those of you who are new to the show, you can find ways to help the show at my Linktree, which is at Linktree/Brad Binkley. And follow me on X. If you are on X, follow me on X at Freedom Act Radio. Brad Binkley is the name on there, and at Freedom Act Radio is the handle. That is the best way to message me in a way where I will see it quickly. I get some messages through the website propagandafight.com that I sometimes am not alerted to until weeks later. So I do try and respond to those, but I don't always see them right away. And thank you for the nice messages you guys have been leaving on the show in the comments. It really is very helpful, the support. And that's another way to help out is leave a 5-star review and a comment that warms our hearts and makes us want to continue having fun and mocking the news and also revealing the news and revealing the propaganda. And that's what we're going to do a little bit of today. Build Back Better's Converge, dream-based ads, and the dumbest senator has revealed himself. Again, this is a propaganda report. We're going to start with the subject on everybody's mind. The big news story, and that is the ceasefire agreement that Israel and Hamas came to, a 42-day ceasefire that will pause fighting in Gaza and lead to a phased release of 33 hostages from Hamas in exchange for the release of 110 Palestinian prisoners who are serving life sentences. I don't know what the details of all that are. I'm not the go-to person on this subject, but there's something that it converges with that I wanted to highlight at the end of this story. Israel is also apparently going to be releasing, over the course of this 3-phased plan, 1,000 prisoners who were arrested on October 8th, Palestinian prisoners, but were not involved in the Hamas attack the day before. Aren't they also hostages? Isn't that a little linguistic trick there? If they were rounded up and captured, and they're not part of Hamas, nor were they involved in the attack, and they are still captured, and they are being used as a bargaining chip, it would seem as though they should also be called hostages. I don't know what their treatment is like. I have no idea. And neither does most people talking about this subject. There's a few people that have been over there and have actually reported on it and seen how things work on the ground. Not since this latest war began, but in the past. But most people actually have zero clue about the reality of what's going on over there, which is unfortunately the fact of the modern day society where we are impacted by many, many things in the world because everything's so connected that we can't actually touch physically other than through our screens, which, as we all know, can be highly manipulated to make us perceive a reality that doesn't exist. That's the propaganda. That's why on-the-ground reporting is good, which that can also be manipulated, but for the people who go there and go see things on the ground or anywhere else for any story, that helps open your eyes to whatever. That's why I went to all those Trump rallies and Kamala and Tim Kaine 1.0, Tim Walz 2.0, the two gay guys in the Democrat Party who have both been vice presidential candidates. I went to all those events throughout the course of the past year because I wanted to see firsthand if anything that we were being told by the news media was true, which it was not. But I have not done that to Gaza, and I do not intend to ever do that. So, here is what the three-phased... Here, I'll put this up on screen. And I did verify this. So there's this site called Perplexity, which you just ask it a question and it tells you the answer. I said that this was going to be what the new search was, like years ago, when I first started reading about AI stuff. I was like, they're trying to eliminate your ability to formulate your own search and get a bunch of different results to cipher through and find information that they might not want you to find. One of my philosophies used to be you're not going to find the stuff that they don't want you to find on the first page. You're going to have to go to like the 10th, the 15th, the 100th page of the Google search to find all that information that they want buried, because it did used to be there. I used to be able to find anything on Google. And then the Las Vegas shooting happened. And then it tightened up. Even then, you could do a controlled time. Like, you could know how to use all of the modifiers, the historical searches, the minuses to get rid of certain pieces of information. And still, the first 10 search pages would be flooded with the exact same most recent story. It's crazy. It really is crazy. It was so different using Google 7 years ago. And now it's slowly become worthless, and it has devolved to we simply ask it a question, Perplexity and all these other new AI search engines, and it tells us the answer. Of course, we can click on these links and verify, which is good, which I did, because sometimes these things are wrong. Sometimes they just make stuff up. It's like the news. And here's what the three-phase plan is supposed to involve. Phase 1, as I referenced a moment ago, duration is going to be 6 weeks starting on Sunday. The ceasefire and pause in hostilities will happen. As I said, the release of the 33 Israeli hostages, which it says women, children, elderly, and female soldiers. I don't know if that is in there. It sounds like it might be something that would be in there. I mean, it'd be weird if it was like only the men were hanging on to the women, children, elderly, and the females. But I don't know. I don't know how it works over there. And then Israel is going to release the prisoners, the women and children also, which I'm assuming that's not the one serving life. I was having a hard time differentiating between that. The 100 Palestinian prisoners who are serving a life sentence and just the ones that were rounded up, like the women and children, on the day after on October 8th. Usually October 8th is the day after October 7th. I should clarify there. So I don't have to say the day after October 7th when I could just say October 8th as a shorthand. There's going to be increased humanitarian aid to Gaza, 600 trucks per day, it says. You know what I would like to know if I were one of the people driving those trucks? Are they not going to be blown up? Are they going to be trucks that don't get blown up? You're going to get more people offering to drive if you make that promise. That's all I'm saying. Or maybe they're cyber trucks. And maybe the person inside of them blows their head off right as the cyber truck arrives because they would rather blow their head off than sound like a weirdo, crazy person like David Grush. I'm connecting multiple stories, obviously, in a non sequitur. Some of you will understand the reference. Others of you, it's very rude of me to bring in the non sequiturs. I do apologize. After that, there will be a partial withdrawal of the Israeli forces from urban areas. So from the black neighborhoods, Chicago, Philadelphia, of Gaza, the urban areas, where all the violence is. I'm retarded, obviously. I just roll my eye. I don't roll my eyes when I see this story about this. I'm glad there's a ceasefire, and I hope it works. I hate war. I hate that children die on both sides of war. I hate that children are used to exploit people's emotions to get them to believe one side or the other, or both sides. I think it's awful, the things that happen. And I have no favor towards either side of it. I think both sides of it, the people who are fighting the war, not the people who just want to live their lives who get pulled into it. I do have sympathy for them, regardless of whether they are Palestinian or Israeli. You know, some people say, well, I don't care, okay? There's at least one person, there's at least one Palestinian and at least one Israeli who are like, man, I hate all this shit. I wish we could just hang out and be cool and everybody could stop killing each other and pretending they're righteous for it. Because that's what all sides of every conflict do. Even though it's not reported that way to us, to the people who they get to fight and die in these things, they have convinced them, whether they are Hamas or Israeli, that their cause is righteous and that they are fighting evil. There's nobody going around going, I'm the evil guy. Nobody thinks they're the evil guy. But all of this is why I have sympathy for the ones who just are tired of it. And I hope that this truly can bring an end to it. I really do. I'm not optimistic, obviously, but I think that's a good way to view the news is, you don't want to count your chickens before the eggs hatch, right? Or the eggs before the chickens pop. I don't know. Who cares? Then there's going to be the return of the displaced Palestinians to their homes. And in phase two, so phase one has apparently been, they've agreed on it. So that's like I don't know how, binding any contractual agreement between these two or in this situation is, but that's the one they say that's like, the ink is dry, we've dotted our I's. Our lawyers have reviewed it, and we signed the contract. They've signed the e-document on that one. Phase 2 and 3, they have not done yet. That's still in negotiation. And phase 2, the negotiations are going to begin on the 16th day of the first phase, which will involve, they hope, okay, this is all still speculative and not confirmed yet, the release of the remaining living Israeli hostages. It will involve a complete withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. It will there will be the establishment of a sustainable calm. I always wonder what they mean when the word sustainable is put into anything. It's been tainted so badly by the climate change movement that it's hard to see that word and not think that there's some sort of backdoor climate change thing going on, which I don't think that that's the case here. I don't know. It will also involve discussions of Gaza's future governance. Discussions of their future governance. Who will be in charge? Bibi Netanyahu has nominated Bibi Netanyahu to be in charge. I don't know if he's got any backing for that. Phase 3 is said to involve the exchange of the remains of the deceased hostages, the implementation of a 3 to 5 year reconstruction plan for Gaza, and the potential lifting of the Gaza blockade. So the implementation of that 3 to 5 year reconstruction plan is what stood out to me. because it dawned on me. What's up, Mike? It dawned on me that, and probably a lot of you too, that we could see at the same time, we could see Gaza being built back better, Ukraine being built back better, and also Los Angeles, California being built back better, all within the same few months span. These things could be going on. Klaus Schwab could be very happy about this. This is the perfect time to implement the digital infrastructure, the e-governance, the DIA app, which they're doing over there in Ukraine, which Samantha Powers is going around all the time saying this is the silver lining of the Ukraine-Russia war, or as I see it, the reason for the Ukraine-Russia war, which is to basically force the entire remaining Ukrainian population to sign up for this DIA app, which makes everything that they do paperless. It's the government in an app is the way that they promote it. And we have invested $28 million in it, and we are using Ukraine as a testing ground for the effectiveness of this digitized government. Paperless, climate-friendly, lower emissions. Paper is like emissions, right? I don't know. I don't know what any of that bullshit is. But Zelensky promised, I think in 2021 or something, that as president of Ukraine, he was committed to turning Ukraine into the first fully digitized e-government. And Ukraine's, from the reporting in the news, has been completely demolished and is now ripe for being built back better with a more fitting digital infrastructure for what they've been planning to implement there since before the war started. I imagine there will be similar measures in California, which is often a testing ground for stuff like that within the United States. A lot of pilot experiments done there. And Gaza, I mean, I'm sure they'll do the same thing. They're not just going to start rebuilding analog old schools. This is the opportunity of a lifetime for these Build Back Better, transhuman freaks. I think it's going to be very interesting to see that. And I also, while I don't like following the story, because nobody gets anywhere when they talk about it, Israel and Gaza, like literally nobody gets anywhere when they talk about it. Nobody convinces anybody of anything. The only thing that people accomplish with this story is getting tons and tons of profit-earning engagement through massive amounts of impressions and replies on X. These big accounts who have opposing views on this just go after each other. One side of it I seem to view as more reasonable than the others, but man, am I tired of seeing them make the same arguments to each other over and over again. It's the same thing. And they both know it's always big accounts who intentionally say something provocative towards their enemy, who I think are probably just fake fighting because they agree, let's go fight about this because we both have a bunch of followers who trust us, who as soon as we start attacking each other with our opposing positions are going to blow up our replies, and we are going to ching, 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 cash in because the X algorithm, the creator profit algorithm incentivizes fake fighting as much as possible so that all of your respective followers fake fight each other and fake fight their way or your way to the bank. It doesn't mean that people aren't genuine in their views when they argue on X. I think the people in the comments absolutely are. But I tend to believe that a lot of these bigger accounts are a little more like Edward Bernays and Saul Alinsky, whose theory on this type of stuff was never buy in to the shit you're selling. I don't mean to call it shit, but never buy into what you're propagating, because then you become controlled by it. And you can't manipulate it for your own benefit. And I see a lot of these bigger accounts on X that really look like they just know how to really set off both their and the other followers. And they might be in the same room as the people they're fighting with. I don't know. Or maybe they're legitimately fighting and also profiting at the same time. As much as X likes to be promoted as the best place to get news now, which I like X, it's not the best place to get news. There's no good place to get news, really, actually. It's hard to trust a lot of things on there because of the profit incentive. And I guess that goes for anything in the world. I diverge. Does that even make sense in that context? I don't know. Sometimes I use words that I heard, and I'm not even sure if it's the right word for the moment. Whatever. Moving on to the next story. I really do hope that the fighting ends over there. It would be fantastic if they found a way to peacefully live with each other. Isn't that the humane, like the normal human thing that you think most people would think? You would think that would be the position that 95% of the world had about that. Oh, wouldn't it be nice if they stopped killing each other and each other's children and found a way to live harmoniously with each other and uplift each other? And then there's like other people are like, no, they can't. No, they can't exist. No, they can't exist. It's like, okay. Whatever. All right. So what up, guys, on Instagram, which we are trying Instagram now. Haven't been kicked off of Instagram yet since Zuck's new rules. And we tested it last night. Nothing happened. Holy cow, there's actually comments on Instagram. Actually, I hadn't seen this before. Didn't realize the comments thing was on here. Hold on a second. And Joe Biden is trying to take credit for it. Yeah, I saw that, Chip. Even his spokesperson gave credit to Trump's envoy and team. Of course, that's what he's going to do. That's what all these politicians do. When they deserve the credit, they take credit. When they don't deserve the credit, they take credit. It's like in the laws of, I think that's one of the laws of power, like the 40 laws of power. I think one of them actually is take credit for anything you can, regardless of how much you contributed to it. Never give it to other people. They should have a debate with Biden and Trump and let them both argue who should get more credit. I think that would be fun to bring back a little bit of that, because Trump, while he's been doing all this stuff since he was elected, I think we're missing a little bit of his, going after the libs. I think we'd all like to see him throw a few insults at Chris Christie, maybe look at Joe Biden, say he doesn't even know what he's talking about. I don't know. Like I think some of that's been lacking with a lot of the unity that's been going on. Not to say that I don't like unity. I do like it, as long as it's not unity that is being artificially created in preparation to try and get us to favor going to war. All right. So here's the next thing I want to talk about. I just love this. So I did cover this yesterday briefly. I'm going to cover it today. It's something that we talked about yesterday that I didn't recognize at the time, which is how hilariously stupid Senator, was it Sean Wayne Mullins, the Republican, his defense of and his case in favor of Pete Hegseth. How ridiculous it was during that confirmation hearing. I didn't fully understand or see this at the time because I did not know while we were playing those clips the full details of Pete Hegseth's, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, Hegseth, his marital history. The public version of it anyway. I didn't know the story that was his official version of the story and all of the media's official version, really, that they agreed on. And after learning those details, I realized why he looked so uncomfortable when Mullins put him on the spot to talk about his wife and then kids. It's so clear, crystal clear, why he was a little bit shaken by that. And it's, to me, one of the funniest things. It's like twisted humor, but I have watched Mullins so many times since then because he's so confident in what he's saying, and he's so certain that he's helping Pete. It's so funny to me because he's so oblivious to what's actually going on. And it actually reveals to me what some of his voters who elected him might be interested in, the way that he treats his responsibilities in Washington, D.C., which is he doesn't put much thought or time into it. If anything else he does is anything like how he handled the hearing, the confirmation hearing for the man who he's voting yes to give the Secretary of War power to. Okay, even if you agree with that selection as one of his constituents, if it were me, I would still like to know that he did his due diligence and put some thought into it. I can tell you he did not at all. And he looked retired. And some of you guys might know this already. You might have known about Pete Hegseth's marital history when I didn't. But I want to share a couple of those clips again, premising those clips on what I did not know about Pete and his marriage, his previous marriages, and his current one yesterday. But now, so here's what I didn't know. I didn't know that Pete Hegseth had been divorced twice and that he was on his third marriage. I knew there was infidelity accusations and that there had been a divorce. I didn't realize that there had been 2 divorces, and this was his third wife, and that his first 2 marriages both ended because of infidelity. That was the reason why they ended. So that was the history of Pete. This is his story, too. This is his redemption arc that from the right has been told. And part of that redemption arc, after admitting to his first wife that he cheated on her with at least 5 women, and then his second one, I'll tell you more details on that infidelity in a second, but also that one ended because of the infidelity. The story goes that after it happened a second time, he became a changed man. When he met and not married, but I guess I call it dating or got with his now current wife, she changed him, and he stopped his cheating ways. And the public version of the story is that the infidelity that we heard Tim Kaine talk about, and we've seen on the news, and then you say that whatever about, all of that happened during his first 2 marriages. And there's no claims, even if none of it's true, even if he has cheated on his current wife, the story, and this is how we're going to treat it right now, is that he changed when he met his third wife, stopped cheating, has never cheated on her, and has remained faithful to her and been the ideal husband. So that is the background, part of it, that I did not know yesterday. I also, hold on, let me find my place here. There's some more information, too, that I did not know. Yeah, it's like, the way he tells it's like I made mistakes in the past with my first 2 marriages, and I learned from them, and I'm a changed man. It's the redemption arc. So none of the infidelity claims that Tim Kaine made, which is important because Mullins claimed to be responding in his performance to some of the things Tim Kaine's saying. He wasn't, actually, because if he were listening, he would have responded differently. He also, the information I didn't know, I should say this. I was under the assumption, like others, that all of that stuff Tim Kaine and people were saying about him cheating on his wife and you can't be trusted in this, that it was about the woman sitting in the courtroom with him. Just as Mullins apparently thought. The other thing I didn't know is that he cheated on his second wife, his previous wife, with the woman in the courtroom with him, his current wife. So his current wife was his mistress while he was married to his second wife. And that his previous marriage ended because he got his current wife pregnant while still married to his previous wife. In fact, she had the baby while Pete was still married to his second wife. It was a month afterwards, which I'm guessing when she discovered that her husband had cheated and impregnated and had a baby with another woman, that she filed for divorce. And they went into a contentious 10-month divorce fight where he did everything a guy does to ensure that the judge will give you almost zero custody and visitation of your children at all. One, he sent all these messages threatening, harassing her, which is documented by the court. They already give custody to the wife usually anyway. The wife was bitter. She was mad. She was angry, obviously. He was having another family with another woman. That's also not a great way to get custody of your first children. It doesn't say expressly what his custody agreement is, but based on what I've read in a number of documents and my understanding of this through people I know in my background at law school, he probably has at most 2 weekends a month with his first 3 children that he had with his second wife. And that's at most. And that's keeping in mind the fact that those children, from the information I could gather, are probably old enough to blame their dad and his new wife for their dad leaving, abandoning them in their mind and abandoning their mother and leaving them out to dry while he goes and starts another family with some whore he was banging while he was sneaking out while he was still at home with them. I don't mean to call her a whore. I'm just giving you an idea. There's going to be anger there that's felt. So it's very unlikely that these 3 children spend a lot of time with their dad, and even less likely that they spend any time at all with his new wife. All of that is important for what we need all of that in our minds when we watch Senator Mullins make everything super awkward without realizing it. I knew none of this yesterday. Now that I know all of this is like the funniest thing I've ever seen. Make sure I'm not leaving out any of the good details here. Okay. All right, so basically the summary. His current wife was his mistress, and he got pregnant while married to his second wife. She had the baby while they were still married. Second wife found out. Angry divorce. Custody battle. All right, I got to plug in my computer. I didn't plug it in. Hold on one sec, guys. I'll be back in like 10 seconds. Oh, my goodness. Can't believe I didn't plug my computer in. If you guys can still hear me, I'll be back as soon as I can get this plug. Holy cow, there it is, there it is. Unbelievable. It's always something. It's always something. All right. Jeez Louise, that would have been a disaster. Holy smoke. Sorry, guys. That would have been a disaster if my computer just died in the middle of it. I can't believe I didn't put my power cable in. My battery in my computer lasts like, it has like erectile dysfunction. It lasts like 30 seconds. So back to what I was saying. Pete Hegseth's current wife was his former mistress that he got pregnant and had a baby with while still married to his second wife, who then started a 10-month-long contentious divorce proceeding in which Pete did everything wrong that led to the almost definite custody conclusion that he rarely, if ever, sees his kids and likely has very little to do in their lives right now. And they likely view him as dad, maybe not fully understanding, depending on the age. Some of them might be teenagers, but probably definitely don't really like being around or view the new wife as favorably. Okay. Sorry. Had to make sure I recapped myself as well. With all of that said, I'm going to play you the clip again where Senator Mullins starts to make things a little bit weird in the room for anybody who knows that background. I think awkwardness like this is very funny. You guys might not, but just knowing that he doesn't know at all and seeing how confident he is in what he's saying, I mean, he looks like a fool. There he is with his tight white shirt, playing the fool.
We've all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because the only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too.
Just real quick there. Seems to be implying,
I have changed, but I'm not perfect. But I found somebody that thought I was perfect.
She's stupid. Like the way he's saying that, like, I found some stupid bitch who thinks I'm perfect and just lets me cheat on her all the time. And because she thinks I'm perfect, blames herself and forgives me. I mean, that is what I take away from the way he talks about this. Maybe I am putting a little bit into it, but he seems to be talking like his wife is stupid.
And for whatever reason, you love Pete, and I don't know why. But just like our Lord and Savior forgave me, my wife's had to forgive me more than once too, and I'm sure you've had to forgive him too. And so thank you.
Okay, so I really love this. This is a heartfelt, not really, thank you that he is giving to Pete Hegseth's wife, okay, his current wife. And he's relating it to his own life, in which he seems to be implying, I don't know what else he would be implying because the context is infidelity. And what Tim Kaine, some of the things Tim Kaine said, that he has cheated on his wife multiple times, and that dumb bitch who just thinks he's perfect always, I'm mad in this, that, blames herself and stands by him. He made a mistake, and she stood by him, kept the family together, raised the kids as he became a better man. All praise and glory to the wife that forgave you and didn't let your family fall apart, right? So he is thanking Jennifer, Pete's current wife, for being that thing. When, as you know, as I just pointed out, she wasn't the one that kept Pete's family together when he cheated. She was the mistress that wrecked his family. She was the home wrecker. She was never in a position, because the story is that he's never cheated on her. He's a changed man. The cheating happened on the second wife. So there's never been anything for her to forgive him about in this marriage. It's like Mullins is thanking her, but like thank you for forgiving your husband for cheating on his previous wife with you, and then leaving his wife and children who neither of you ever really see anymore. Thank you for forgiving him for that. Had his second wife forgave him for this, he'd probably still be with her. That woman she'd probably be a single mother with her 3 other kids and the kid that she had with Pete. It's just, he's so oblivious to, how can you be a senator during a confirmation hearing and not be aware of the fact that all of the infidelity stories that you've heard, even in this hearing, are not about the wife in the room? That she is the one who was the mistress. Like, it's just mind-boggling to me that he didn't know this. I find it quite hilarious. Like, if I were in that room, I would have been laughing my ass off. He's so confident, too. He's so confident. And this is the best part. He thinks he's helping here. I'll let him continue. Take that back again. It's just the look on his face, because this guy is so sure of himself. He doesn't know a thing about Pete. That's the other thing. He clearly knows nothing about the man that he decided to nominate without doing any research on him.
Too.
God, who's clapping?
There and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke.
Give me a
It
joke.
is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye. We've all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because
Jennifer didn't love him through that mistake. Jennifer was that mistake he made in this comparison that he's making. And he's so stupid he's oblivious to that.
the only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too.
Like, what does that even mean? Not in prison? Were you about to murder you were going to murder your wife if she didn't love you? That is something I'd like to delve in to a little bit more. The more I learn about this guy, I can be honest with you. I liked him at first for doing his little, fight thing with head of the union a few months back. I'm starting to dislike him because I think he's full of shit.
I have changed, but I'm not perfect.
Yeah, he still screws around.
But I found somebody that thought I was perfect.
Dumb bitch.
And for whatever reason, you love Pete, and I don't know why.
He fucks everybody. You love him.
But just like our Lord and Savior forgave me,
For
my
cheating.
wife's had to forgive me more than once too, and I'm sure
Multiple.
you've had to forgive him too.
And I love the part that he doubles down. I'm sure he's cheating on you all the time, and you have to keep forgiving him. Even though this isn't the wife, like the story that he's clearly not familiar with, is that he put his cheating ways behind him and is the ideal husband. This dude's not even up to date on the official version of the Pete Hegseth life, which I wasn't either, but I'm also not a senator who is given the task of approving or confirming or not confirming.
And so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Like, what is she thinking right there? She knows. She knows that this guy doesn't have a clue and that she's the one that wrecked the marriage. And he's sitting here thanking her for what he would have been thanking the previous wife had she done, something that she never did. She's probably so confused. I really wish there's a camera angle showing her face during this. I haven't been able to find one, but if anybody can find a camera angle on Pete Hegseth's wife, while this dipshit is saying all this, I would absolutely love it because it has to be gold. I'd like to see a side-by-side of this dude and her.
But before I go down this rabbit hole again,
Do it.
Tell me something about your wife that you love.
I love this. So he's already dug such a hole. Clueless. And now he's going to say, you know what? Let's go even deeper. Because this woman stood by you when you cheated on her, even though you didn't, it was the other one. I want you to tell us what you love about her since she held the family together and raised the kids while you were cheating and then becoming a better man. So you see
She's the smartest.
Do you see how off-put he is there? He's not off-put because he doesn't have things that he likes about his wife. He's put off because he's like, oh, shit. I know what he's asking. I need to give all the glory to the wife that could have kicked my ass to the curb for my cheating ways. That's what he wants me to do. But that's the second wife. It's not this wife. And so whatever he does, he's going to get shit when he gets home. Because she'll be like, you were thinking about her. You were thinking about her when you said all those things, not me. Because she's the one you cheated on. Mullins is messing dude's life up.
Most capable, loving, humble, honest person I've ever met.
The most honest person he ever met. She was his mistress that he got pregnant and had a baby with while he was still married to his second wife. Most honest person he ever met.
In addition to being incredibly beautiful.
In addition to it. That's why she became his mistress.
Don't forget about your kids.
That's the best part. And I'm not trying to give them shit for cheating. I'm not. I know that happens and stuff. It's just the context to me is the guy he's so oblivious. It cracks me up. And that whisper there he did, that creepy ass whisper, the lack of social awareness, situational awareness from a military guy, I think. I think that guy Mullins is a military guy. Maybe not. Is extraordinary. How did he not recognize the body language and that that breath? That, oh my God, how you just put me in a really awkward situation. How did he not notice that? That's the main reason I went back and looked at Pete Hegseth's marital history, is because of the way he took that breath after being asked this and the way that he responded to this. And yet this guy is completely unaware of it. He's not autistic. He's not autistic at all. He's just not, he's not listening. He's being performative. He's not in the moment. He's not reacting to what's real in the moment. He has a performative agenda that he thinks is going to be the most explosive thing that could potentially be clippable and go viral. And he planned on doing it. And therefore, that's his goal. He's not even really watching, probably, Hegseth's reaction. Talk about your kids. Talk about your kids. See, this is great. Talk about your kids. 3 of the kids aren't hers. But, oh, man, I get so excited because I think this is so funny. This is so, it's gold.
In addition to being incredibly beautiful.
Don't forget about your kids.
I'm supposed to talk about my kids?
No, well, she's also the mother.
Oh, an amazing mother.
Yes.
Of our blended family of 7 kids.
Brother, I'm
all
pulling
of
you
which
as
love
long.
her.
I'm trying to help you here.
He thinks he's trying to help.
You know,
Don't forget about your kids. And the second, I'm supposed to talk about my kids. Well, she's also the mother of. No, she's actually not the mother of all of his kids. She's not the mother of the 3 kids who see her as a homewrecker for taking their daddy away from their mom and them to have another kid out of wedlock because he was porking her while mom was putting them to bed back when they were married. Tell us about your kids and how good of a mother she was. Why is he doing the Joe Biden whisper also? Anytime anybody goes into that whisper, nothing good comes out. He's sitting here telling Pete to praise and thank his current wife for keeping the family together and being a good mom to his kids, to his 3 kids included, who she's never done anything to raise, who she wrecked their family, who probably hate her, who she never sees at all because of custody. And this dude just keeps pushing it. What a dipshit. What a glorious dipshit this guy is. I think that's all of it.
Let's talk about my kids.
no, well, she's also the mother.
Oh, an amazing
No,
mother.
she's not
Yes.
the mother.
Of our blended family of 7
Brother,
kids.
I'm
all
pulling
of
you
which
as
love
long.
her.
So he had another chance there. He said an amazing mother of our blended family. He's trying to signal to Mullins, shut up, dude. And Mullins, bro, he's not listening. He's not listening. I'm pulling you in, brother. No, you're not. You're digging. You're digging a hole and you're throwing the dirt on them. Listen to the moment, Mullins. Maybe listen to your constituents. Maybe don't make your entire agenda as a senator to do performative acts that you hope will go viral. Maybe don't do that. You dumb MF. He's not dumb. He's arrogant is what he is. Supremely arrogant. I mean, I don't know how you can make this mistake. He comes off as the dumbest brick in the pile right here. Thank your mistress for wrecking your second marriage and leading to you abandoning your children and wife from their perspective. And never seeing them. Thank her for, listen, dude. Maybe that shirt's a little too tight around his neck. It's cutting off the circulation. So, oh my God. I wonder if any of his aides told him that. I wonder if he still thinks that he crushed it. because he clearly thinks that he crushed it. He thinks he's hitting a home run here with this matter-of-fact, self-assured tone. Just listen. Look at his body language, man. Be socially aware. You can see that he's reading from the paper, too, because none of these people actually write all of their own scripts for this. You saw this in this hearing more than one I've seen in a while, where it was very clear that these senators had their aides write almost a full script, and they were flipping through it like a cold read. Now, I think that he probably workshopped this idea, so he got excited about it, and nobody did any research to help him. But you could see him looking down because he said, "Get that script to me." I hope he still thinks that he killed it. I hope he still believes that Pete's current wife is the one he cheated on that everybody's talking about. And I hope that every time he sees her, he says, "Thank you so much for forgiving him. Thank you so much for not letting infidelity wreck his home and leave his children without a father to raise them." Like, I hope he says that exact thing that she actually did cause. I hope he continues to thank her for preventing that thing. That is what I hope. Just because I maybe one day might be somewhere where I can see it happen firsthand. Because I would love to be there and go watch that. In fact, I would egg it on. I would say, I would be like, "Yeah, no, you did a fantastic job of really setting your ego aside when you could have been like, mother effer, you cheated on me. You cheated on me. I have been nothing but committed to you, and you could have gotten another woman pregnant for all we know, and she could have had a baby for all. Like, I just would have fed fuel to the fire, and he probably would have jumped on it. I mean, it's truly, truly fabulous how blissfully ignorant this guy is, or oblivious to his ignorance anyway. So how does that happen, by the way? Which is actually the more important point than all the stuff that I like to harp on because I think it's funny. How does somebody who is a sitting U.S. senator go into a confirmation hearing for a person who's been nominated to be the Secretary of Defense, which is the Secretary of War? It's a very important position. How does he go in not knowing that everything he's about to say is going to make him look stupid and make everybody uncomfortable? How does he not know a little bit about the history? He certainly did not listen very well to what the other senators were saying before him. I think that he came up with a plan. He spent 5 minutes talking to his aides, probably right when they first heard that Pete was nominated, and then he hadn't thought about it since until one or two people before he was about to go. They brainstormed. He said, "Write it down, get it to me," and then didn't think about it again until 10 minutes before this. Because he certainly was not listening to Tim Kaine. Because had he been listening to what Tim Kaine was saying, really saying, not what he thought he was going to say. What he was listening to was what he wrote his script based on, which is what the media was reporting about Pete Hegseth, whatever, which was that he's a drunk and cheater. So that's what they formulated his whole thing on. Tim Kaine, while he looked crazy, like he was cocaine addicted, he had his penis in a socket while he was doing his line of questioning, it also made me go, wait, what? It made me realize that there was relevant information about Pete's marital history that I didn't know. Yes, we can assume that everything he was saying was bullshit, but as a senator, that should have made him take a pause and go, wait a minute, what's he talking about? Is he just blatantly lying? Because I haven't heard some of these things. Is there something about this man that I'm about to confirm and defend and make a case for that I don't know, that if I did know, would make what I'm about to say make me look like the stupidest person who's ever sat in the Senate? And that if I did not want to appear that way, I would need to make some adjustments based on this new information that came to light. Never at any point did he do that. So he wasn't really listening. The dude was asleep, just like Adam Schiff was asleep. And this is not what we elect senators to go to Washington, D.C. to do. All these people are up here on this dais, one of them called it. It's not a Comedy Central roast. A dais? They're up here reading pre-written scripts that their staff did for them after a brief brainstorming session based on very little research and listening to nothing that any of the rest of them say. It's all like separate little rooms they're in. That is not what you elect someone to go make decisions on your behalf to go do. That is not the due diligence or the thoroughness or the work that you cast your vote and you put your trust in them to go represent you with. But that's clearly what he is doing here. And it also demonstrates that he is a pure partisan, that he knew he was voting yes to confirm, most likely before Pete Hegseth was ever even nominated. And therefore, he's too arrogant and self-absorbed to have the time to actually research and find out if there's anything about this guy that maybe would make him pause, or if there are examples of his career and what he's done that will win his confidence in a way that he could be an advocate for him, a good advocate, not a retard. He didn't have any time for that, even though that's what he's elected by people to go do. He doesn't have time to do his job. He only has time to attempt to become a viral sensation with clippable, arrogant, doofus comments, just like he did when he threatened to fight the union guy, which is probably also written by somebody else and uninformed. They didn't elect him to come to Congress to try and be a TikTok star. But that appears to be his main objective. Because it's certainly not doing the due diligence and truly representing and putting the interest of his constituents top of mind and making sure that this is what is in their best interest. It seems like he doesn't give a shit about that to me. This is a fireable offense right here in any job in the real world. If you are a lawyer and you are grilling somebody on the stand who's under oath, because this is what these scenarios are like. The senators are like lawyers, they're like the opposing lawyer or the plaintiff's lawyer, and they are grilling the person on the stand. If you gave such an uninformed, idiotic a line of questioning like this, you'd be fired before you finish your last word. You might even be disbarred for negligence, because that happens when you're getting paid so much money to represent somebody and defend them or prosecute that you are so callous with it. He would be fired. He should be fired. I hope whoever elected him fires him. I don't give a shit that I agree with some of the positions he takes. I don't give a shit that I agree with the way that the hypocrite angle, which is another thing I got to thinking about, that he portrayed the Democrats with. I agree with that. And at first I was like, oh, that's cool. But then I realized, oh, wait a minute. He didn't actually do anything here. Because after watching this again, after knowing what I didn't know before, I started thinking about the rest of his 9 minutes. And it dawned on me that he didn't at any point in time actually include any relevant details that he knew about Pete Hegseth or that he had learned through talking to people or talking to Pete or examples that he had gathered of work Pete had done, bravery or whatever, a demonstration of skills that he could use during his time to make his case for Pete, to show that he's qualified. He didn't do any of that. He did none of that. He actually, instead of making here's all of the great things that show he's qualified case for Pete Hegseth, what he did instead was, you don't have to have any qualifications to do this job. So he took the opposite approach. He didn't say, look at his resume. He said, you don't need a resume. Anybody with a pulse who's not currently working in government can do the job. You could be almost dead as long as you're not a government employee, and you are qualified for what Pete is doing. So it doesn't matter if everything you say about him is true. He's still qualified. It's irrelevant. It is not disqualifying to be unqualified, is the argument that he made. Like, truly. Like, look, it's really hilarious. It's the most low effort approach that I've ever seen, but given, I don't always pay that close attention to all of these because I'm looking for those funny moments and stuff. And I'm just looking for it's easy to miss how stupid and how unprepared and how little they care by the way that these moments are clipped and shared around as though they're badass or as though they dunked on the Dems or the Republicans or whatnot. I'm sure that most of them are probably as unprepared as I talked about with the scripts a moment ago. So here is just a couple more clips just to show you. Watch this part again here of him addressing head on whether or not Pete Hegseth is qualified to be the Secretary of War. Just listen to his argument here. It's really extraordinary.
Qualified for it. Could the chairman tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense?
That to me, I don't know why I didn't notice this yesterday. Can the secretary tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense? Isn't that a weird way to make your case for somebody? Not here is a list of amazing qualifications that meets this standard. It's instead, do you guys even realize that there's a lack of a standard?
Mr. Chairman, could you tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense?
I'd be happy
I'll read it.
for you to do that. Yeah.
Let me read it for you because I Googled
I
it.
was getting some advice.
I love that. He Googled that. He took the time to Google what the qualifications for it was. He probably used Perplexity, honestly, because I doubt he would spend 1 second clicking through multiple links, or he had somebody else Google it and send it to him. Because the whole point was not to build up Hegseth, but to knock down any idea that you need to be in any way qualified for this job, Secretary of War. And I was cheering the guy on for calling out the hypocrites. But man,
Advice from
I
my
understand
second
that.
in command.
Yeah, but I'm just making a point because there's a lot about qualifications, and I think it's so hypocritical of senators, especially on the other side of the aisle, be talking about his qualifications, not being able to lead
I see.
the secretary or be the Secretary of Defense, and yet your qualifications aren't any better.
This is his argument here.
You guys aren't any more qualified to be the senator than I'm qualified to be the senator, except we're lucky enough to be here. But let me read you what.
They're lucky. No, they were voted to be there. Lucky enough to be there. You see the argument he's given here. There's a two-pronged argument he made. Here's my case for why Pete Hegseth should be confirmed. And part one is that there are no standards for this job. Anybody could meet those standards, but let's say on the outside chance that for some reason Pete can't even meet the standards a near dead person can meet. Standards, when factoring in whether or not somebody should be confirmed for the job of Secretary of War, should be no factor. It should be no factor in the determination of who is in charge of our warfighters. Because none of us in this room are qualified for our jobs. We are not qualified. Not one person in this room is qualified to do the jobs that we have been lucky enough to be given. Therefore, a lack of being qualified has been determined to not be disqualifying. Case closed almost. He does, just in case, make one more argument just to really close the book. I mean, this is the stupidest argument for anybody that I've ever heard. This is a low-effort bullshit argument. It makes me really dislike this guy, actually. Instead of showing somebody's resume, let's just call them hypocrites, and we'll just. I'll say that I'm retarded, but I'm not afraid to admit it. But we're all retarded. Therefore, the only qualification is being retarded to be the Secretary of Defense.
What the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it, and I Googled it and went to a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see, but in general,
it's hard to see. He can't figure it out because it didn't pop up right away.
U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army,
that's his argument. You just got to be a civilian.
Army forces.
So why do we care what Pete has done in his career? Why does anybody give a shit, and why are we wasting time on it? Because none of it matters. He is a civilian.
And I've been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years, and Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that...
Yeah, he's not good. It's just the standards are nothing. I'm not saying you're good. I'm saying any idiot could do it. I know I said that a number of times, but it just blows my mind. If I'm the coach sitting there next to him, so I can't, in those situations, there was a moment where it looked like, what's that guy's name? He used to coach Auburn football. I can't remember. Bowden. I think he kind of had a little bit of a cringe that he stifled during the tell us about your kids thing, because I think that he recognized what was going on. But then he seemed to have awareness he's on camera, and he didn't let himself do what I would not be able to prevent myself from doing, which is like look at him like this would be my face the entire time he's talking. I'd be looking around at other people going, somebody give him the light. Somebody give this guy the light and cut, like you got to cut the microphone on this guy. That's the facial expression I would have been given.
That the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary of Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon.
So none of this is about Pete. None of it at all. He knows nothing about the guy. That's what his constituents voted for. So this guy to come know nothing about the job that he's doing, to use tricks to make it look like he's actually doing something. And here is his next argument. This is the final one. It is funny to me that he has the balls to do this.
The senator from Virginia starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night?
That's his argument.
Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have.
He's angry
And then
about
how
it.
many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives?
Yeah,
Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and
So
point
is
out
this.
the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake. And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye.
So this is when he goes in to thank the Jennifer, the wife, and all that. After that, with their big plank in their eye. What is it? Like a plank of wood in their eye? Is that a saying? Did he get that wrong? Like he did? Give me a joke. So his first argument, to really hammer this home, was I've heard a lot of criticisms about why Pete Hegseth should not be confirmed, that he's not qualified. Well, here's the facts. There's no standards for the person who gets nominated for this job. Anybody could do it, but on the outside chance that he's lower than anybody, he's worse than even anybody. Standards don't matter, and the reason that standards don't matter is because none of us are qualified, and none of us meet any standards to do what we're supposed to be doing, but clearly not. And to follow that up with, there's been accusations about, drinking and whatnot. Yeah, okay. So what? So what? Sexual harassment claims, drinking. So what if he shows up drunk to work and he cheats on his wife with every whore he comes across? We all do it. We all cheat on our wives with any hole we can stick our pricks in, our planks in. I cheated on my wife right before we came in here. She forgave me, like she always does, because she has very, very low, very insecure. Always forgives me. Always thinks it's her fault. And I'm a better man for it, just like everybody else in this room. Everybody here is a quasi-functioning, serial cheating alcoholic. And you want to tell me that's why Pete Hegseth can't be the Secretary of War? Because he's completely and wholly unqualified? He's a piece of shit just like all of us, and therefore he should be confirmed as Secretary of Defense. Case closed. Fuck you. Fuck you. Rips his shirt off. Bangs the daylights out of Lindsey Graham. I'm cheating right now. But you know what the difference is Republicans, we own up to it. Like, that's how I think this whole started. Like, how he come to the strategy is after finding out it was Pete Hegseth, he did like 5-minute strategy, guys, with his staffers. And he said, so what are we going to do in the hearings with Pete? And somebody said, like probably a nervous staffer, was like, CNN calls him a drunk and a cheater. And he goes, that's it? We're all drunks and cheaters. All of us. All of us. He's still married there, right? Yeah, me too. The difference in us, Republicans, and the Democrats, who we'll call them hypocrites. Write it down. We'll call them hypocrites. I'll admit that I cheat and everybody cheats, but they're hypocrites and we're not, and Pete's not, because unlike them, when we cheat, we don't run from our problems. We don't leave our families behind. We don't leave a single mother to raise 3 kids who hate me and hate the mistress I got pregnant. We don't do that. We own up to our mistakes. We give all the glory to the wives who stand by our side and forgive us and hold our families together and be good mothers to our kids. While we learn and grow from our mistakes and we become better men than we were when we stuck it in, the secretary or the new employee at Fox News who wanted to get a better job. Somebody write that down, and then he walked out of the room, and he didn't think about it again until right before he delivered it. So that's the amount of effort he puts into his job. If he does that little amount of effort and he's that partisan, or he does what he's told to do that blindly, to know such little information about the person he's going to make a decision on, such an important decision, how do you think he handles every other decision that he makes on behalf of his constituents? Vote that motherfucker out. I don't care that I agree with him on some of the things he said. Vote that piece of shit out. He is not there to represent you like he claims. He's a fucking bullshit artist. Audit. I think I can get rid of Insta. Hold on. All right. A couple more, then I'm out. Hunter Biden, you guys might have heard about this. He is a victim of the Los Angeles fires. My heart goes out to him. My sympathy goes out to him as he lost nearly 200 artworks of his paintings. You know, the thing that got him over his heroin addiction, helped him transform his life. They have been destroyed. One of the many, many casualties. That's what the article says. They call this a casualty of the wildfires. Even though there's been actual casualties, they equated Hunter Biden's paintings burning in the flames to a human body burning in the flames. The New York Post which, hold on a second. Let me put this on screen so you guys can see it. There it is. Okay, so yeah, you see the headline there. A trove of nearly 200 artworks by Hunter Biden has been destroyed. One of the casualties of the wildfires in Los Angeles. The Post has learned, and sources tell me, actually, it's not in the Post, but sources familiar with information, they tell me that trove of artwork is actually what Hunter used to refer to the prostitutes that he trafficked as. I really fumbled my own joke there by not being able to say the word trafficked. It's not a story about murder, as the would-be joke would have implied, minus the tongue-tying. This is a story about money laundering. Clearly, the most obvious case of money laundering. There's never been a more obvious, open, and everybody knows it case of money laundering than the Hunter Biden painting psyop. I don't think anybody believes that Hunter Biden has painted one painting, let alone 200 paintings. But how convenient of all of them to burn, 200 of them to burn up. I mean, the time this guy must have. The story says that the controversial art had been in a storage facility near the Pacific Palisades home of Hunter's Hollywood attorney, which is I can't remember what they called him. They called him like it was weird, not a sugar daddy, but like a sugar bro, because this Kevin Morris attorney was treating Hunter the same way that a sugar daddy would treat a young woman who just sleeps with him to get his money and all the things, the luxury things. This guy was doing that for Hunter as a bro. And it's said that these paintings are valued at millions of dollars. This is a source close to the Biden family. I would really like to know who valued these 200 pieces of artwork that no one, like I said, believes even exist at millions of dollars. Did Joe Biden do this? Is this a Joe Biden valuation? Who is it? The manager of the storage facility? What's one of those? Like, I'm just picturing it in some $20 a month tiny storage facility. Just this treasure. What was that show, Storage Wars, where people who abandon their storage facilities, they end up having an auction. They have all the people come in and they bid on it, and they open it up like a prize, and then they see all the shit, and they look through all the worthless stuff hoping to find a treasure. Imagine finding 200 Hunter Biden pieces of art in one of those treasures. Storages. Probably wouldn't be very excited because it's actually not worth shit. Morris. Yeah, show me the evaluator. Get the evaluator out here, and I would like to have this person. They should require whoever evaluated these paintings at this amount of money, if there is insurance, to describe why the paintings are so valuable, what the content of all of the paintings are. I want to see the notes. I don't care who did. I don't care if it's Mickey Mouse. I want to see the notes on the value and why. Morris, the sugar bro, loaned Hunter nearly $5 million to help him pay a tax bill and has been financing a documentary on him. He lives in a 5-bedroom, 6-bathroom home, which is among the few houses still intact in the posh neighborhood, the Post can confirm, which also Hunter's house was also still intact a few days ago, I think. They're not sure now. He should have stored the art here. He should have kept it at this guy's house. His paintings have been priced as high as $500,000, $500,000, and the Post has found that his work has been priced on average as at around $85,000 each. So that, that's nothing. Not $500,000. That's the rare case. They're just measly $85,000. For what looks like a piece of canvas art that you can pick up for $20 at Michael's. or that Christian store with all the painting materials and bird artwork. Here's some of the artwork, actually. That's actually exactly what I was thinking about. Like if I'm like, I want to go get some art for the wall from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. This is what I'm imagining. And you can get like 5 or 6 of them for probably under $50. But then you can repurpose them as a Hunter original, make $85,000. Here's another one. This is one that actually looks like it looks like a Hobby Lobby Michael's piece of $9.99 artwork that's been urinated on for 6 months. So that's the artistic touch that Hunter put to it. He urinated on it for 180 days and then hung it on his wall. I can smell it just looking through the screen here. What is that? That's nothing. I drew pictures like that when I was in kindergarten. And I was no Da Vinci. Here's another one, which looks like a bird shunning. Looks like a bird turning his back on him. This one looks like. Who looks at that and says, that's worth $85,000 to me? I'll tell you, somebody who could get a job as the ambassador to their favorite country after laying down $100K for some piece of shit like that. So I'm pretty sure it's a safe bet that those paintings were insured. Little money laundering cash for Hunter on the way out for his troubles. You got that conviction. No jail time, but you had to deal with all of that. And we know it's difficult for you and it triggers you, as Joe says. And it's actually the media and the Republicans trying to kill you, is what they would say, by sending you back into a spiral of addiction, which I don't believe for a second he ever escaped. But for your troubles, here's 200 times 85,000. If we're going to say on average they're worth $85,000. So there's your parting gift, you piece of trash. Get rid of that. All right. All right, this is the last story of my ranting show. In the early AM hours of Thursday, January 16th, 4 days before Donald John Trump begins his second term as the 47th President of the United States, which I'll say this, some of you might be going to the Inauguration Day festivities. I thought about going. The hotels were way too super expensive, but there's going to be a lot of powerful, wealthy, influential people there. All the tech people, whichever countries, envoys, the people they're sending that he invited. China's sending high-ranking envoys. Be very, very careful if you go there. 4 years ago, before January 6th, I said on this show multiple times, do not go. There will be feds everywhere. It will be a setup, and they'll arrest you. And that was, I think, maybe a little more obvious than what my expectations are for this. I don't know that something will happen on Inauguration Day. It might be too on the nose because it feels like they're trying to create a sense of unity right now. But if there's a high-ranking envoy of Chinese diplomats there, I got to think the CIA is looking at that and just like, they're twitching because they see a perfect opportunity to false flag something to trigger an escalation in global tensions, whether against them or American, whatever. It's going to be a melting pot of wealth and power and foreign power that I gotta think the CIA is licking their chops at, maybe having to really restrain themselves from trying to pop something off. So just be careful. It is going to be a super historic event. But I wouldn't get right in the middle of it if it were me. I'd maybe observe from a distance. All right, I'm going to save that one for tomorrow. I'm going to save the dream ads, the advertisers that are targeting our unconscious mind so they can sell us products in our dreams for later tonight. Which also, if you want to check back later tonight, the show will probably be around 8:30 or 9. And I have some new technology that I got today that I am planning on trying that will, if it works correctly, and I understand how to use it, allow us to take phone calls. And I would like to try that. So check back then if you would like to help me in that experiment. This is the last story I'm going to do today, and it's about Nancy Mace, because I'm sick and tired of Nancy Mace's bullshit. I never thought I would say that, because she has such nice breasts. Like, she has the kind of boobs that will make a man put up with a whole lot. But she's gone too far. She's gone too far. And she's actually led me to agree with an identitarian politic, progressive congresswoman, Jasmine Crockett, a woman I never imagined that I would agree with. Here I am, 2025, agreeing with this woman in opposition to the very busty Nancy Mace. Because, look, I agree with the position that men shouldn't be in women's bathrooms. You know that if you listen to the show. And I also agree that they shouldn't be able to go dominate women's sports. And literally, in some cases, I showed video of it, high school guys who are like 6'2", not good enough to be on the boys' team, identifying as a girl and groping the breast of opponents, causing teams to not play because of injury and like sexual assault, basically, on the court. I completely agree with Nancy Mace's position about that. So don't be confused about where I stand on that. It's just the way that she has advocated for this position that has become so insufferable in her advocacy to protect the ladies' rooms at the Capitol for men. She's put on this Davy Crockett of the ladies' room performance that has just gone everything she does. She is holding the line. She's the last thing standing in between a line of giant-dicked, rapey, horny men pretending to be women. Nancy Mace is the only thing stopping them. And yet, despite her claim to be this Davy Crockett of the women's restroom, every post she makes about this, while being completely self-absorbed, also makes the image that she puts with her documentation of her fight to protect the ladies' room, the primary focus every time are her giant tits. Every single time. Every time, right there in front of the camera. It's like the tightest shirt she has. She's standing in the ladies' room, or she's standing in front of the ladies' room in this fight, and her tits are just knocking the lens out of the camera. I mean, it knocks your head back at times. It's like an Instagram model posting about, hey guys, check out the latest book I'm reading, which you can barely see because it's out of focus and way in the background behind her enormous breast and the two-piece she's wearing, exposing, like everybody knows what you're showing. Everybody knows what you're making money, Instagram model. Nobody thinks you're reading that book. We're all here for the boobs. Okay? It would be more acceptable in that context, Nancy. It's gotten too narcissistic and self-absorbed for this context. Like, go do that. Just go be an Instagram model. You don't have to pretend that you're only wearing tight shirts and framing every picture you post with your boobs front and center because you want to keep men out of the women's bathrooms, which she might want to do, by the way. But just talking about that is not going to make her as much money or get her as many clicks and shares as putting them babies up front, those headlights. Like, I don't know that I've ever said less boobs, please. I seriously am in a position that I've never been in. That's not something that is, me. But it's time. It's time for less boobs, Nancy Mace. Even though they're very, very nice. And less opening your mouth. Because the more Nancy Mace opens her mouth, the less power her breasts have over me. Which maybe is good for me, actually, because I'm at the point where I want to block her and I want to move to wherever she lives just so I can start campaigning to vote her out. Like, go somewhere else and do this. And now she's fighting the other Crockett. It's Davy Crockett, Nancy Mace, and Jasmine Crockett, progressive. It's just really two women that a guy finds himself around these two women, and he's thinking to himself, my God, give me a Cybertruck, some fireworks, and a bullet, and I'm going to drive to Trump Tower and do something more pleasurable than this. Here they are being two drunk chicks at a college bar at 2 a.m. with a little added flavor of self-absorbed narcissism that politicians have.
Somebody's campaign coffers really are struggling right now. So she gonna keep saying trans so that people will feel threatened. And
that's correct. That's exactly what Nancy Mace is doing.
Child, listen, I want y'all
I
to
am
tell
no
me
child.
whether or
Do
not
not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I'm 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
have.
I am reclaiming my
Let's go.
time.
You notice what Mace did? Jasmine Crockett pointed out the obvious. She's grifting. She could have pointed out what I pointed out, that she's tit grifting on the trans issue, just to line her campaign pockets. And Mace, which is typical in these types of arguments, subverts that very valid and provable point by focusing on, I'm a grown-ass motherfucking woman. Bitch, I'm a grown-ass 47-year-old woman. I mean, this is what happens right before a smoking gun story is created in Florida.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I'm 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
have.
I
Order,
am
please.
reclaiming my
Let's go.
time.
You will not do that. I
Order.
am not a
Chairman,
child.
I am
not a
reclaiming
child.
my time.
If you want to take it outside, we
Mr.
can
Chairman,
do
the
that.
committee is not.
Okay.
If you want to take it outside, and then she throws her mic to the
In
side.
order.
Order.
Point of order. Point of order.
I think that black woman would whoop Nancy Mace's ass. Nancy Mace is that bitch in college. She's like a UGA drunk sorority girl who, after too many drinks, who thinks she's the hottest chick in town, just starts picking fights with everybody and getting the unlucky guy who happens to be with her into all these fights that he has no choice to get into because she forces them upon him until he breaks up with her. Which she is single now, from what I understand. She is twice divorced. And I have a feeling I know why. Fight me outside. Fight me outside. I'm a grown-ass woman. Just go somewhere else, Nancy Mace. Who says that? Like, who does? I've broken more glass. Who shouts, I've broken more glass ceilings That's something that other people say about you. When you start shouting that about yourself, you're just a self-absorbed narcissist is all you are. That reveals the intentions to me right there. Tells you something about her. Which, by the way, she did go to UGA for her master's, so some of that fits, actually. So, I do have a message for Nancy. I think, I'm not going to speak for everybody or anybody, just myself, but I have a feeling some people agree with me. While we do agree with your expressed position, whether or not you believe it or not, or you even really care, on the trans bathroom and trans women in sports issue, I think many of us would like you to stop, okay? Unless you're going to give us something in return for us continuing to endure how insufferable you have become. Pushing your tits into the camera lens is no longer cutting it for the amount of pain your cringe is causing us, okay? If you want us to continue playing along with this LARP, we're going to need to see a nip. We're going to need to see one nip with every trans bathroom post if you want us to humor you. Otherwise, I need a bare nip minimum or I'm out. Otherwise, take it to OnlyFans where you can play out your fantasy there. Big, giant, dicked trans woman with a wig on walks into the women's bathroom ready to rape everybody, only to find the last line of defense to Davy Crockett with the Davy Crockett raccoon-tailed hat on, Nancy Mace standing there, who confronts this monster by ripping her shirt open to expose her very nice breast, thus exciting this trans person who claims to be a woman, and then goes on to prove that this is, in fact, a man by having sex with him on the floor of the women's bathroom. And then kicking him out of that women's bathroom in shame as his secret has been exposed. That would be a killer OnlyFans page, Mace. You'd make a lot more money, I think. And you'd make a lot of us happier. Not because we're joining your OnlyFans. Some people may. But because there's less of this shit. There's less of somebody expressing a point of view that many of us agree with that is just a complete dipshit and unlikable doing. That sucks. It sucks bad when somebody expressing a point of view that you agree with is just a total manipulative, deceptive bullshit artist. Self-absorbed narcissist. That sucks because it makes everybody holding that position easy to discredit by people who might otherwise listen. Oh, that issue Nancy Mace's character, or that thing Alex Jones. I'm saying Alex Jones likes to show his tits all the time. I'm just saying when easily discreditable grifters become the main representatives of points of views, those points of views are discredited by anyone who doesn't already agree with that position because of that grifter. Sorry, Nancy. Ball's in your court now. Show us a nip, okay? Tits in your court. Ball's in your court. All right, that's it. That's it. It's a very much longer show than I anticipated, which I have to say is actually something that happens quite a bit. But nevertheless, I am doing a lot of experimenting, as some of you guys probably noticed, with the shows. And while I will do shorter, briefer shows that are a little bit more news-focused, I am playing with different styles and strategies to pull from different shows what feels good and what seems effective and what is a nice blend of not just serious, everybody takes ourselves too seriously news, because I can't deal with that. I see so many news broadcasters and even people sometimes in the alternative media who just take themselves so seriously in their discussion of these topics. It sucks the fun out of a lot of things for me. And I know that the world is serious, and there's serious problems that need to be solved. But those problems, in my opinion, are a lot easier to handle and deal with. And more cooperation can be found when the people involved in the discussions and looking for those solutions aren't egotistical, overly serious people who thinks they're just the greatest, who is afraid to make fun of themselves, who takes everything in themselves way too fucking seriously. Long story short, is I'm trying to find a nice blend and mix of informative, as insightful as I can. We can't be insightful on everything. That's another exhausting thing about the news. As soon as something happens, everybody has to have a take. Everybody races to have the most unique take, or at least make it seem like they do, which leads to a lot of just bullshit. But also, that's the wrong way, isn't it? It's a wrong way to tell people what's going on in the world. Hey, this thing just happened. Guess what unique thing that I thought of that it might be about? The better way is to try and be measured about it if you can, which you can't be measured about everything. You can only focus on so many issues at a time. All of us can. And there's nothing wrong with not having a take on a major news story. It's actually not even possible to process all of the information that is thrown at us every single day in a way that we can consume it, let it set in our brains after sleeping on it, evaluate other possible explanations, and let the new information come in, and then come to a well-rounded, personal, and unique point of view when you have 8,000 stories coming at you a day and Nancy Mace's tits knocking the camera lens off with their trans bathroom issue stuff. It's too much. It's on purpose. They want to break our brains. They talk about brain fog, COVID brain fog. Bullshit. I mean, I didn't experience that the one time I had COVID. I would ask, what are the other possible explanations for this brain fog that they say has been documented? How do they link it to COVID, as they say? Because what definitely causes brain fog and forgetfulness is the overwhelming amount of information that we try and consume and digest on a daily basis. I experience it myself all the time. Because you try to focus on so many different things at a time. And I stop myself. I go, stop trying to do everything all at once and focus in on what you can talk about, what you do have an insight about, not what you think everybody is supposed to have an insight about. Because that will give you dementia. And it will break your brain. I don't know if it'll really give you dementia. I'm not a medical doctor. I just mean, it's very clear. The information overload is a real problem. And the only way to solve it is to not give in to the urge to always have to say something about everything because you're hoping to get the biggest response on social media and up your engagement, blah, 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 whatever. That's not why most people do it. That's why the big accounts do it. But it creates a behavioral trend that I myself have fallen into many times. And I hate it. I hate it because it feels like chaos in your brain. It's the multitasking. Some people say multitasking is impossible. The idea behind that is multitasking is impossible when the things you're multitasking or attempting to requires the use of system 2 brain resources, your cognitive brain resources, meaning that it's not something that is either an instinctual automatic reflex or something that you have done and learned so well and done so many times that it has become an automatic reflex. And it's a difference in somebody who has never played basketball in their life, trying to dribble a basketball versus someone who's been dribbling a basketball since they were 2 years old, being able to walk around and just put it between them. So it goes from system 2 with practice and experience and expertise to system 1. It's the system 2 stuff that we fumble with and suck at because we haven't learned it and become experienced with it yet, that we cannot multitask. And when we try to, it actually lessens our ability to do any of the things we're trying to do because it takes more cognitive resources to switch back and forth between things that we don't understand well yet and haven't turned into a skill yet. Every time we switch, we have to reorient and try and figure out a thing we don't really know, which sucks our brains dry, which then makes it harder to do the other thing you don't know when you switch back to it. It's called the switching something, which I used to know offhand, but because I've been switching so much with all the information, I can't remember, like, not the switching fallacy. It's something like that. It's a sociological thing that absolutely is the reason why I think more and more people find themselves forgetting words and not remembering things they can picture. It's on the tip of their tongue more often. I don't attribute that to COVID brain fog. I attribute that to mass brainwashing and propaganda. So that's a really light, delightful way I'm going to end the show on. Man, sometimes I think that if I didn't have to go to sleep or if I didn't have to go somewhere or go eat, that I think that I could just ramble about nonsense forever until I just dropped. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying through this experimental time of growth and development, I need to establish those parameters. You're seeing the sausage being made right here. I'm giving myself a note to self. Establish those parameters that enable me to save some for tomorrow, to not spill it all out at once. While sometimes it is good to rant and go deep and everything, it's fun. Sometimes you don't just want to strip your clothes off right away and show it all to the world. You want to just reveal a little bit and do a little more tomorrow. I'm done. You guys have a great day. Thank you for putting up with I'm a bit neurotic. I'm aware of that, and I appreciate you guys not making me feel bad about that and embracing it. So thank you, and thank you guys for what you do and all the support that you give. I really do appreciate it, and I really do enjoy doing this and the conversations we have. And I'm looking forward to maybe talking to some of you guys when we implement a call line. Goodbye. Have a great rest of your day.